I've got two of me. I'll be back in just 1 second. There we go. Right. There we go. Fantastic. We are now live. Well, we've been live for the last few minutes. However, now everything appears to be working again. And what technical wizardry did I do? I turned it off and I turned it back on again. That's the level of expertise. Would you believe it that I'm an IT trainer during the day? How is everybody doing? I'm not 100% sure how I chat yet. I've got a separate window that gives me the live chat. And then I've got myself logged in on another screen. I assume I use that for chatting. I guess we'll find out. Hello. I suddenly have way more respect for anyone that does live streaming. First try. So my first question is then, what do I fancy painting? Because I want you guys to be hobbying as well. There's no sitting around here just watching. There's my camera. Get it on the first try. Hello, Carl. Hello, Lord Thoric. Lord Thoric, is it yourself that I'm chatting to on Instagram? I know I've got someone that I'm chatting to who is very much expecting a baby very soon, which was really good because I could feel their tiredness and excitement that they would soon also be suffering from the same tiredness. Let's have a little look. Is it you? Oh, I've got a message here. No, that's someone else. Well, unless you don't expect it. You're going to build a shed? Fair enough. Oh no, it is you I'm talking to. Ah, fantastic. I can't say I want to be doing any particular physical labour. How's everyone doing in this heat? Oh, they've arrived. Congratulations. Ah, that's why you're outside building a shed. Somewhere that you can hide. That's amazing. Do you have a name picked out yet? There's a delay between setting it up. That looks upside down. Okay, that's the next thing to sort. Work out how we can flip this back up the way. Screenshotting ad. Oh, very nice. Evelyn, but we call her Evie. Question is what is she going to evolve into? I mean, that's George at the Burning Brush, whose name I definitely didn't get influenced by or steal at all. If you're ever looking for a commission painter, he is absolutely excellent. I actually have one of his pieces just here. You know what? I might move it later. I'm not feeling that brave. Let's let's wait until I've got everything working first. Now, do I want to do 180 degrees? I do. There we go. Although it seems to have gone out of focus. But we've at least got an image. Was it a moonstone is one of the things you use to evolve Eevee, I think. An electric stone, something like that. I'm guessing, though, you didn't really have Pokemon in mind when you chose the name. How about Carl and George? What are you guys working on while we're doing this? I've also got a choice to make here. Let's set up the first ever poll and ask a question. What question do we want to ask? Well, we want to ask, do we want to paint my unfinished Horus Heresy diorama? Do we want to paint a Guild Ball team for a game that is now no longer supported? Or do we want to paint the Shadows of Mordor? I think that's... No, Journeys to Middle-earth. I've got a huge stack of miniatures here. But whatever we choose, I'm going to try and get it finished in the 2 hours that I want to stream. What to paint? So let's see. Yes, no. Well, I was hoping for a little bit more flexibility there. So let's have Lord of the Rings. Let's have Guild Ball. And I want one more option, which is going to be Horus Heresy. There we go. Let's ask a community. Good luck with the shed. Yeah, definitely just trying to get rid of some of this backlog, because I don't know about you. It's building, and all I want to do is buy more. I think if I do Lord of the Rings, it'll definitely be all just with dry brushing. Try and get it done as quickly as possible. There's a lot of models there. 30 models? Something like that? We've got 50-50 at the moment. Lord of the Rings and Horus Heresy. Let me bring down the plinth. If you follow the Hobby Hoarders podcast at all, this was actually one of my failed attempts to try and get a diorama done. I think I bit off a little bit more than I could chew. If you've ever seen, there's a really famous piece of art, which is Horus versus the Emperor. And so we've got there the fallen angel himself, and this giant cape is the Emperor's. It's not perfectly to scale, but it's pretty close. So we've got the Emperor, and we've got Horus. And I just want to say I actually chose to make this diorama before it was cool, you know, before this Horus Heresy weekend. Now, if only I'd got it done on time, then maybe I might have been able to use that. Oh, we've got Lord of the Rings in the lead. That's fine with me. It's one of those games that I don't know if you ever collect games that you just want to convince your partner that you really want to play. I was like, Lord of the Rings, that seems like a good one. We both like Lord of the Rings. Watch the movies every year. What to paint? To be fair, the fact that I only made one typo apart from the capital U in Guild Ball I think is pretty impressive. I think next time I'll have a keyboard underneath the table, because otherwise you have to reach across the camera constantly. Alright, I think I am going to go with Lord of the Rings then. Fantastic. There you go. Who says it's not democracy? It wasn't even 52%, 48%. I think I'm going to start off with the really easy troll. Go for an easy win. Or maybe I should do something less detailed, but this is what I'm going to go with. I mean, if I was really going to show off, I might consider using some of the oil paints that George talked me into buying. I was actually pretty pleased with them, although I used far too much and I ended up having to wait for the orc to dry for about 100 years, which was pretty funny. I bought a while back on eBay these Vallejo paint sets. I was kind of taken with the fact that it was this cool big box. Look at the size of it. Although all the colours are pretty much everything you would need perfectly for painting something like a German army for bolt action rather than fantasy. I think we're going to have a green undercoat. So I'm thinking on this trolley boy, start us off with. Let's see. US Olive Drab. Very much World War II colours. Again, no expense spared on the, I don't know what you call it, dry palette? It is pretty good, big. It was £30 on eBay though, because nobody else was bidding on it, because I also misspelled Vallejo. So nobody had bid on it because nobody realised what it was. Although I supplemented it with the metallic colours from Vallejo because I thought they were really good. I just got tired of opening up, let's say, the other paint range, the main paint range that a lot of people know, and they kept being dry. Although I did buy contrast paints and speed paints. So let's start off with this bad boy. think like a lot of people, when I bought into the Journeys to Middle Earth, I was expecting them to be, look a lot like the Games Workshop ones or like the movie ones. I suppose it is a very cool troll. Doesn't look like the one from the movie. Do you have to rent the license of a troll? Do you think that's a thing? You have to rent the license of a troll? One of the strangest ones I found earlier. You might have heard about it with Stan Lee. And apparently he sold his license to a company who then sold it to Disney. Seems a bit shifty to me. Someone wants my license. We can talk. We can talk turkey. Although my face has appeared in a whole range of different places. If you've ever gone to Santander or Scottish Power, Clark's, you might have seen my face. No, I'm not an actor. I've just moved around a lot. Dry brushing is one of my favourite techniques. I just love how quickly it comes up. So the main topic then of this hobby hangout, which hopefully you are all now arms deep, hands deep, paint deep into doing your own miniatures or something to do with the hobby. It's what we enjoy listening to while we hobby. That's definitely another aspect that I want to have sorted for next time, is how I add music. I even bought a bunch of music to be able to use for streams like this, but I couldn't work out how to get it playing. I've got my headphones, so I can hear you even though you're not saying anything. Does anyone else use audio? Audible? To give you a preview of the fact that I do indeed use Audible. I'm sure there's something in here. There's something to do with stats. There we go. So, listening time. Total. Admittedly, it's not as impressive as some other people I know. One of my friends, Chris, he has a stream time on World of Warcraft of 3 years, which is absolutely crazy. I think we did the maths on it, and even if he'd done that painting, from now all the way back, that would have been something like, I can't remember, was it 7 hours every day? Alright, okay. I'm trying to read more. I think it was one of those things that you do a lot if you've got a commute. If you've got a good chunk of time when you're not doing anything, assuming your commute's not in the car. I did find that my actual physical reading has dropped off since I didn't have a commute. It does make me sad though when you think of different books that have never been made into audiobooks. Do you have a particular book in mind that you think, you know what, that needs to be an audiobook? I'm always tempted to dub over my favourite ones, read them out myself so I can listen to myself, but I thought that's a bit narcissistic. Have you got a particular book you're reading that isn't an audiobook? Some grey onto this troll next. I don't know about anyone else, but I definitely waste a lot of paint when you're squeezing these out. I always end up with way more than I'm meant to. Well, whatever you do, if it feels blocked, do not keep squeezing it until it pops. For me, a book series that I just wish, I really, really wish that they would bring out in audio is the Sigmar books. Sigmar and the Nagash books. Not the End of Time ones, the ones that they brought out before, the sort of the fantasy ones. They're definitely some that I would love to see out. They're absolutely fantastic. A little bit harder to get hold of. You can still buy them through the Black Library. The Chronicles of Sigmar and the Chronicles of Nagash. I think they did another one as well. They did one for Dark Elves. It's called something like Malekith. I did read that one as well, but I don't really remember it. However, the Nagash one and the Sigmar one were absolutely fantastic. My friend Matt, who I do the podcast with, he's got some really good connections via a friend at the BBC, and he gets to actually interview loads and loads of these authors. His most recent was Adrian Tchaikovsky. If you've not read him, he hasn't done any of the Warhammer books that I've read. Wouldn't say that he hasn't done one. He did one called The Apt, Shadows of the Apt. I think to really enjoy it, to really get the most out of it, you have to be quite into your sort of your politicals, because it is quite political heavy. But effectively, you have all of humanity may or may not have been wiped out by nuclear. We're not 100% sure. But after the effects of the war, they've sort of blended with different insects. And so what we've got is, for example, the praying mantis warriors are like mystical sword fighters. You know, they're incredible warriors. And you've got things like moths, which understand magic. There's even a book where you're talking about the sea creatures as well, which is quite cool, because then they've got things like crabs. But the idea of it is basically there's two types. There's the old way, and then you've got the more modern way, like beetles and wasps. And they are apt. Hello, ManyQuest. There's Sergey with his amazing 1,000 subscribers. Congratulations. Overdue by a long, long way. There is a spot I forgot. There's a lot of things that I forgot to do. I thought I was prepared. I thought I could do it in 2 hours and get this all set up, and I was wrong. Or do you mean on the model itself? In which case, I think his entire crotch area. Don't worry, we'll get some nice close-ups of his crotch later. Although looking at the quality of this camera, interestingly, this is the same camera as this. And yeah, the quality of that looks amazing. The quality of this doesn't. Needs to be pushed into the table. I think that's what it is. The depth of focus. Field of focus. But yeah, basically you've got the creatures that are apt and can use technology, and you've got the creatures that are not and they can't. And it's this crossover point in the war where suddenly, you know, crossbows and technology and guns and whatnot are overtaking the powers of the old ways. And it's a struggle. Also, it has, of course it does. It has the Romeo and Juliet story, but it's not really a romance story. But yeah, that's by Adrian Tchaikovsky, and it's definitely worth reading or listening to. It's available on Audible, although that's one of the ones that I've read. Definitely the one that I would like. I'd absolutely love if they brought it out. Would be the old fantasy ones. the book by Adrian Tchaikovsky. Let me just grab it up. Shadows of the Apt. And I believe it's called An Empire of Gold is the very first one. Empire in Black and Gold by Adrian Tchaikovsky, if that's the one you're thinking of. That's the one with the war, with the insects. I prefer the old artwork, to be honest. I don't really like how books have gone with this sort of a real person picture now. I prefer the sort of the older style of artwork. Or if you mean the Sigmar one, it's called Sigmar Chronicles, or the Chronicles of Sigmar. There you go. The very first one's called The Legend of Sigmar. It's available on ye old Amazon, but that's the one I've got there. Graham McNeil, who also does really good 40k stuff as well, if you're looking for 40k stuff. And the one about Nagash is really good as well. Although, speaking of this, got one of Sergei's favourites, Gotrek and Felix, who I'm actually listening to right now, and that is on Audible. I have just finished the first book, and I'm on the second book, which is Skaven Slayer. So I've just finished Troll Slayer, and it's really good, and it's making me miss the old world even more. The Skaven were just so despicable. Definitely something that I like. I like it when you have book series that just have tons and tons of books in them. I like it just to be never ending. Which I guess you could almost say about Game of Thrones, except it really, really is never ending at this point. I think everyone's holding their breath waiting to see what happens. Oh, you got them! Oh well. I'm glad you've mentioned that, because I was actually looking out for the two models. I thought maybe I'd have a better chance in the UK of getting hold of them than you would in Germany. The question is, of course, which of the... Is it 3 or 4 different versions? There's actually 3 or 4 different versions of the models. Have you read any of the books? I assume you've read the books, Carl. Have you got a favourite book? Is there one I should look forward to? If you can remember to distinguish which one's which. That's what I always find with those kind of series. It's hard to remember which is which. You know what? I'm pretty happy with that. We've got grey scales on the back. We've got a greeny grey skin. What is the focus distance of this? I mean, that's a lot further from my face. Let's see. Let's see if I can't bring it more in focus. Does that actually make it clearer? No. No, it does not. There you go. Maybe my light's too bright. Let's see if I up the colour. Nope. Oh well. You want to be able to see that it's improved over time. And if you can survive this one, you'll survive anything. Let's give it some pants. Trousers. Let's go with the dark brown. Horrible skin colour. I'll make some nice leather. I was going to say the earliest sort of book series that I remember reading is called The Belgariad. It's the first book is, I believe, called The Pawn of Prophecy. That's one of those really good ones. It goes from the Belgariad onto the Malorian, and so the books just go on and on. Like, probably without an exaggeration, with spin-offs, there's like 16 books, something in that ridiculous range. And that's a really good book series. But the first book would, of course, be The Hobbit. That is what I was raised. That was bedtime stories, The Hobbit. Complete with all the voices. I mean, what's the point in reading a story if you're not going to do the voices?
Stupid fat hobbitses wants to come down here and learn something about the Hobbit, do they?
Yeah, the Belgariad's probably the first one that I read fully independently and just got ridiculous into. We actually had to buy a third copy of the Pawn of Prophecy because me, my brothers, and my parents just would reread the thing constantly. I think any book that you're willing to read more than once is well worth the investment. I think one of the funniest ones that happened to us was actually when I moved in with Claire, or she moved in with me. And I don't know about anyone else, but when you've got a signed book, you tend to have, or when you've got a limited edition book, you tend to have the book that is your pristine one that you keep separate. And then you have your reading one. The problem is when two of you move in and you're both fans of the same author. In our case, it was an author called Derek Langley. He wrote Skullduggery, which is actually like a teen sort of book. About magic and wizardry and whatnot. And we ended up with 4 copies of the books because we both had our read books and then we both had our too good to read books. So upstairs we actually have some copies of books 4 times over. Elric of Melnibone. I do not know that. Let's have a look. If you were going to say Eric the Red, I loved that book as a kid. Fantastic. I have not read this one. Looks almost like it's night elf, dark elf, whatever you want to call it. That's pretty cool. Thank you very much. I'll definitely be... Oh, Neil Gaiman as well, so you know it's going to be good. Who am I thinking of? Dretz. That's who I'm thinking of. The audiobooks of Harry Potter read by Stephen Fry. Absolutely. If you are an Audible member, there's actually loads of books narrated by Stephen Fry. He did all of the... Oh, what's it called? Sherlock Holmes. I've been listening to a bunch of those through Audible. I definitely would listen to stuff because it's in the membership that I wouldn't necessarily have picked up otherwise. Who am I kidding? I would definitely wouldn't have picked it up. Ah, that would make sense. So it has all 4 of the Chaos Gods in it, or the sort of the idea of a pleasure god, a chaos god, a wizard. Wouldn't surprise me if it didn't have Slaanesh, and that's why Slaanesh is the god that arrived later, maybe. Yep, and it's included. Get yourself a free trial on Audible. Give it a listen, decide if it's worth it. You get to keep the books if you sign up for a free trial. No, this isn't a sponsored stream. Even though the picture of audio and its official logo is in the picture. As I said, I've used them a very long time and very much enjoyed them. If I had to give up Netflix, Disney Plus, Amazon, I would give them all up in a heartbeat for Audible. Wouldn't give up YouTube though. YouTube is absolutely my main way of getting entertainment. It's one of those things, isn't it? You've got the Forgotten Realms, is it called? And the Forgotten Realms is sort of almost blended in with D&D, but also with, trappings into Games Workshop. It's one of those things, isn't it? It's plagiarism if you copy from one person. It's research if you copy from loads. Always keep roll of this handy, and preferably out of reach of the cat. Is anyone eyeing anything up from Prime Day? I'm picking up a pair of little lapel mics. They're reduced down from about 40 to about 20, which is still probably suspiciously cheap. However, it's better audio than using my phone, especially when I want to do stuff. I want to do like walking around stuff when you're recording, you're walking, you're talking. And, especially in the attic, I really want to get videos done in there as well. For patrons mainly, although all my patron stuff's free, you can go and watch it on there. Nothing's behind a paywall. Let's get some teeth on this bad boy. And again, if he hasn't brushed them in a while, he might not have any. And what do we think? If I mix grey with skin tone, am I going to get ivory? Probably not. Let's see. What do I get? I get... Who would have thunk it? A lighter shade of flesh tone. Okay, fine. That'll do. That'll do, donkey. That'll do. The Wizards of the Coast recently got the guys that did the original Forgotten Kingdom stuff back. Forgotten Realms, sorry. Stuff back. Forgotten Realms is so large and old it's leaked into pretty much... Yeah, true. Absolutely true. Well, I always get the name confused because, of course, there's that other one, isn't there? There's, what is it? What's it called? It might be the Forgotten Realms even. And it has actually the character that I use all my name tags after. Realtine and Cameron. And then you've got the half-elf, who I want to say is called Tanith, but that's a completely different thing. Talon. Sorry? And what's the book series called? Oh, Tanthalis, I've been informed, is the name of the character I'm groping for.
It's got autumn, spring, winter, and summer in it.
Oh, some lights for the cabinets in the studio. Very nice. I'd love to do some LEDs in mine. I saw a video by Luke APS, or Geeks Gaming's, and it was using, instead of using the ones that everyone uses. Oh, brain's gone blank. The IKEA ones, Deltoffs. He instead was using the Calyx units, and they looked really nice with LEDs and whatnot in it. I've got a couple of the Deltoffs, and I really need to get some lights in that as well. They're all up in the attic, which I did a little tour of recently. I probably should get some cream out. However, this is going to do. Let's put some highlights on this hammery dude. What is it they always say? Hammers, faces. Hammers and faces? Weapons and faces are the most important things. I'm a sucker for a bit of blood as well, so I'll definitely be coming back in there with some blood for the Lord God. Although I found that if you use speed paint and varnish, it's actually very effective as well. What is that book series called?
I got it.
Dragonlance, that's it. Dragonlance Chronicles and Dranic Lads and yada yada yada. Yeah, definitely worth reading as well. I've definitely read all of the main three sort of, because there's three sort of trilogies of it. But, there's so many more books for it. I use a Calyx for storage, got glass ones for the fancy stuff. Very nice. George has the biggest painted Malifaux collection I've ever seen. You had, last time I checked, just a few models of the guild left to paint, and then you were fully done. Oh, but then of course you bought some of the gremlins, and foolishly Set yourself back. I actually cheated in Star Wars Legion, and I actually bought some stuff pre-undercoated, so that I could have said, hey, I've got at least one game system that's fully painted. My friend that I split the box with then immediately went in and bought a second half, and he was like, Sam, do you want to split this one with me since we split the other box? Which meant I ended up with a bunch that was unbuilt and unpainted. James, if you're watching, curse you. Dragonlance has more trilogies than Star Wars. I can absolutely believe that. Maybe that should be one of my next things on Audible, Dragonlance. We should keep a list. I'm not sure how we're going to keep a list. I'm taking screenshots of any that you guys recommend to me so I can reference them later. I guess I could do it on my phone. I could make a list on my phone. If I had pen and paper, I could even do it via pen and paper. Let's see. So, list. Keep notes. I'll pop this in the chat at the end. So, Audible, books. And the one you recommended was the Saga of Elric of Melnibone. And then we had the Belgariad and I guess the Mandalorian, although they're separate. What was the other ones we were just talking about? I have one game, so if X one counts. Excuse me, Chris, I have also painted for you every single one of your Harry Potters, or did you buy more so you don't have them painted? I know that because I still remember, I had 5 models of your Malifaux left to do, and you were like, here, can you do Harry Potter? I remember, although they were pretty easy to do. They were all dry brushed, actually. I don't think I picked up a normal brush once. Chris is very easy to please. Just give him painted models and it's fine. That was it. Forgotten Realms, and Dragonlance. Should I put in Star Wars? Someone put in Star Wars. I'm not putting in Star Wars. Harry Potter. With Stephen Fry, that was it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 so far. Not bad. Okay, 2. Is your, what's the D10 system? Wrath of Kings? Wrath of Kings was a lot of fun. It was a cool mini or not. If any of you are long-suffering fans of the Game of Thrones games, you may also know about this painful experience that we're having at the moment, trying to get games and trying to get the new models. But before Game of Thrones suffered the cool mini or not treatment, there was Wrath of Kings, which unfortunately was completely forgotten about. There we go. We've got some mud. Grab some mud. Apologies, Carl, George, Chris. I didn't ask you what it is you're working on right now. Hopefully you are getting some productive hobbying in. I'm of course cheating and just going with some Vallejo thick mud to do the base. It's good stuff when it dries. It becomes really sort of hard and crispy, so you can actually dry brush on top of it. So maybe later it will have dried enough and we can proper finish this troll. There's a eBay shop that actually breaks up the flower packs that you get and sells you mixed flower packs. I'll see if I can get the name. I think I've got a pack handy. And they're a good way of buying it. 'Cause it means you don't have to buy loads and loads of individual packets. You can just buy one. Well, it is potluck. Sometimes you end up with loads of pansies. And I do mean that literally. Bags of pansies. Okay. Let's get him some flowers. If I'm really lucky, that bag down there might even have a sticker. They are called War Painter Scenics. Where's the focus point for that? Who knew a 40-pound webcam might not be good enough as an actual camera? So it's called War Painter Scenics, and it's the 160 mix tuft set. It's about £5. Get 160 tufts, and you get nice mixes of grass and flowers. Oh, fantastic! Arena Rex, if you don't know it, is an absolutely brilliant miniature range. The game's fine. We played it a while ago. It's all about gladiatorial fights. So if you're into your gladiators, really nice models. Game's interesting. Planning a sculpt big honking swamp monster unless I change my mind. Oh, very cool. You thinking of any particular swamp monster? Not, what's it called? From DC, there's one called Swamp Monster, and there, isn't there? I had actually planned on ripping off, not ripping off, let's say honouring one of your videos actually, Carl, your floating rocks one. I really liked that. There was a display piece in one of the games workshops near to me when I was younger in Glasgow, and what they had is this big chain, and it was made of like foam, and it had the rock attached to it, but it was this massive rock, and it had like it might have been Warhammer World actually, but it had like a whole diorama of all these different wizards in a circle of 9, I want to say, and they were summoning something, and that was really cool. Or was it a white dwarf? No, it was very cool. Yeah, floating rock was awesome. I love it in fish tanks. If you've never done it in a fish tank, it looks really good because the rocks are actually foam, so they want to float. And so you anchor them down, and so it looks like this floating rocks. But yeah, that one was really good from Carl. Also made me laugh because the one you did with the Milliput. I remember buying 12 packs of Milliput to try and save money, and ended up letting it all go hard because I'd been moving at the time. Right, he is done enough. I'm going to move on to the next person. I'm going to go with some dogs. Still going with the nice easy wins. If I can find some links to it, I'll put it in the description afterwards, or I'll send it to you. It was very cool. It's back when they used to do the old battle reports, who were ones that I really liked. Is there really only one dog in this box set? That doesn't seem right. One dog? Ah, 2 dogs. That seems more believable. I can believe that there's 2 dogs. Two doggies. I'd paint one of these like Misha, but I don't think it would be very flattering. Wargs. What colour are wargs? Whatever colour your imagination is. Yeah, brown. I might do my heroes really, really bright and colourful, and that way they'll stand out against the monsters. No thinking, just doing. Too much of a backlog. I mean, what have we got? We're 1 model down. We're 40-something minutes in, and 1 model down. Great going, Sam. Great going. Too much talking. Not enough dry brushing. I like to think of it was a boss monster, so it required more time. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. So let's go quicker on these ones. It's one of those things though, like you do a lot of crafting. So how much stuff do you just keep at hand? Because I find myself hoarding like every interesting packet and every interesting bit of packaging. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to make this one day and it'll be really cool. And then you get accused of being a hoarder. I've got 2 friends here that are firefighters. And anytime they come over and they have a look at my loft, I get in trouble and I have to bin a bunch of stuff. There's a construction site across the road from us that's kind of gone down at the moment. They went bankrupt. And there's loads of huge sheets of black XPS foam. And every time I walk by, I'm like, is this worth going to prison for? Because it's just abandoned right now. See? I would be saving them. I would be saving the planet if I did it. If I helped them. Should have done an undercolour from them. I didn't. Splash of colour do you do with doggies? Trash goblin facilitator. There's many words for it. Think about it. Otherwise, it would just go in a landfill. So you're not hoarding. You're saving the planet. You're preventing it from going into a landfill. I decided the other day that it's only hoarding if you don't actually have the space to fit it. If you've got the space to fit it, it's technically not hoarding. Having said that, I don't know if anyone knows any uses for Kendamil. So Kendamil come in tubs maybe about this wide, made of metal, and they're about this big. I just can't bring myself to throw them out. I just can't believe they don't recycle them. If any of you need big tins, metal tins for something, do let me know. And either I can use them for it or I can send them to you. Sorry, maybe not abroad. Even junk mail makes great mod. For me, it's when you're clearing off models, I refuse to throw all these little, you know, offcuts out. That either you put it in a blender, like one of those NutriBlend things, without someone noticing, or you just chop off and just stick it on the base, and it just makes more interesting base mold. If you look at my video, oh no, I didn't post it in the end. When I did the bases for my Lord of the Rings stuff, I actually used cardboard and just cut off bits like this to make the bases. Well, if you're in the UK, drop me a message and I can sort you out with some massive tins, because we don't need them. And I mean, they're big. They are big. Typical hoarder. Look, not all of us have a nice big room to store everything in. I'm in the corner of my living room, I'll have you know. Don't tell them about the attic. It's fine. It's fine. They haven't seen the attic. They don't know. They don't know. I was kind of hoping that you might be able to use the big tins as storage of some description. I don't know. Not for transportation, though. So another thing that's actually on the Prime deal, I didn't put it on my list of things that I saw, but I was tempted to, is another carry case for the IKEA letter tray, which I'm still not sure whether I should do a video on. The video from using it from the Home Bargains one was pretty popular, so I am tempted. I just don't want to bore people with repeat stuff. I'm thinking, stick on some red eyes, do the teeth, and call these bad boys done. It's about getting them quickly done, not about making them perfect. Perfection is the enemy of production. Or something like that. This is a saying. Something like that. That was a pleasure. Good luck with the editing. Hopefully you can get some of that done. We are all looking forward to a... We're all putting the pressure on, man. We're looking for a very special 1,000 subscriber video. Although I'm a hypocrite because I didn't do one. Spirits work great, or you can melt in acetonal policy. Do you know what? That's something I haven't done yet. I don't think I even own Tamiya Thin. But I definitely want to do it. I had a wonderful arrangement with Chris when I used to live in Carlisle, because he would build all my models and clean them and prime them, and I would paint his. And it was fantastic. Because I hate building, I hate cleaning, I hate priming. And he can paint and can paint very well, but can't be bothered. Which, fair. Oh, that's one goblin down. If it falls on the floor, does it count as done? Probably not. Get back in the pile. Starting November, MiniQuest did, and already at 1,000 subscribers. Very cool. You can almost hear the silence when you're doing eyes. That one came out a bit wonky. That one came out quite nice. As nice as a dot ever is. Now, do I do the tongues purple? Or do I just do them red? I'm just going to do them red. Keep moving forward. Just keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep swimming, swimming, swimming. We did a video on the Hobbery Hoarders podcast. Talk about how little Matt ever gets done. It's because of his perfectionism. He wants every model to be the best model he's ever painted. Yeah. For me, it's more about getting the weight of the miniatures off your shoulders. I don't know if you guys have absolute hordes of unpainted models, but I do. Part of the reason why I started the channel. To try and convince myself to get stuff done. Well, I am very pleased. The number of models I managed to get done before Oliver arrived was about 500, because including the Tire Army, which I basically painted with nothing but spray paint. And you know what? Apart from the masking tape failing horribly, which it turns out was just my fault, I actually really like them. I think for 20 minutes work, that's really good. Although if you include all the masking stuff and set it up and set it down, it was around about an hour and a half. An hour and a half doesn't sound very good as a video title, hence why it's 2 hours, 150 models, when it was more like an hour and a half, 200 models. So, books. We are talking about audiobooks. That is what we are talking about. We're talking about ones that people should give a listen to if you're ever needing company when you're listening to audio. One of the ones, of course, that is very popular is the Horus Heresy. Especially if you can get hold of some of the humble bundles. I think the humble bundles of the audiobooks are absolutely great deal. Although you don't necessarily always get the models that you're... Not the models, sorry. You don't always get the books that you're looking for. And you almost never get them in order. So, that's the only sort of downside of it. Apart from that, absolutely worth it. And the money always goes to a good cause. So, definitely worth doing. The problem, though, is definitely in terms of the... Ooh, I should get one of the Vortex mixers whilst they're on sale on Amazon Prime. But yeah, one of the big disadvantages would be just storing and ordering them, really. at least with Audible, it's someone else's sort of, for want of a better word, problem to store it. Whereas when you buy loads of audiobooks that way, they're just a bit of a pain and they're pretty clunky. If you could import them into Audible, it would be absolutely perfect. But I have tried in several different ways, and I don't think there is a way. Well, if anyone knows of a way or service you can pay to do it for you, do let me know. As I have bought them and then I've ended up buying them again on Audible just for convenience. Also, with the Horus Heresy, we've got about, what? I don't think I'm even joking when I say 60 to 100 books. And I've done about 20 of them. So I'm just a bit behind. I always feel a little bit cheated. I don't know about anyone else that feels like this. But when a book series, such as the Horus Heresy, uses multiple authors, you're almost like, well, I can keep up with one author. It just feels a bit unsporting them constantly changing them. Again, tongue out moment, that sort of level of precision while we're doing his toenails. If you've ever had to do I was going to say wolf's toenails, but a dog's toenails, that face that he's making is absolutely accurate. That is exactly the face they'd be doing if I was trying to cut their toenails. We'll go with big cheesy grin rather than snarling menace. Well, it is absolutely a snarl. So another little dot on his nose. Little dot, not a huge big blob. Yeah, those toenails are a bit extreme. Just white dots. Ah, well, it'll distract from his teeth. Oh, my granny, what big shiny toenails you have. Don't think that was the line that came out of Red Riding Hood. Yeah, the Horus Heresy. I do enjoy them, but I feel conned the fact there's so many of them. Definitely something for the audiobooks when you're out running. Right, let's get these two based. I'm kind of stubbornly wanting to get them all painted before I play the game. I got actually this off of Matt when he was doing his war boot. He was selling it, having never played it. He's not a fan of the games where you're against the computer using things like an app, which I could kind of feel. My friend bought into, I think it was called Golden Golem or Arcane Golem. That was it, Arcane Golem. And you use an app to play against other people around the world, and they controlled the monsters. Didn't sell very well. Servers were expensive, so they closed it down. So it meant literally having spent £200 on a game that is now no longer supported. So I do agree with his trepidation to a certain extent. But I also like the fact that it means that you can cooperate in the game rather than it always being competitive. You can get competitive but against someone that doesn't care, i.e. the computer. Has anyone got experience with playing those kind of games? Games where you're playing against the computer using an app. We played Gloomhaven on Tabletop Simulator, and that was all done by the computer, sort of. It was all scripting, so it meant that you didn't need to worry about how the monsters moved, etc., which was actually pretty good. XCOM board game, I quite liked it. I know that that one divides people, but I enjoyed it. Almost as frustrating as the XCOM game itself. Because I don't know about you, but when your your best sniper was like 10 feet away, 95% chance of hitting and then missed. Oh my goodness. The rage. The absolute rage. What do we fancy this time? Let's have some burnt grass. There you go, these twin doggies. I always feel like I should cut these into smaller chunks. But then they tear. Especially if they've dried out. Not something I thought would happen to tufts, but there you go. Dry tufts. Sounds like a painful condition. If you're not really into the heavy fantasy, I'm going to call these two done. Then another one that I would recommend, if you're into Roman history, is Under the Eagles by Simon Scarrow. Absolutely one of my favourites. It's one of those book series where what happens in it is history. So it's real, the events happen, but the two people in it are fake. So yes, we know that the Romans invaded Britannia. Yes, we know this happened. Yes, we know there was an uprising over in Egypt. But we don't know what happened there. And so it's, these two are the sort of the characters that move the story along and basically make the events happen. Don't know what you call it. It's you know, if you've got a documentary and you have a fake one, it's called a mockumentary. Well, this is kind of like mock history. I'm sure there's a name for it. Got to be a category. Oh, look. It's Chris. It's big beard. Bald. Let's see. How many are there? What would have been a good idea is if I'd laid them all out in piles so they were easy to find. Pre-planning and all that jazz. Notice I'm very carefully putting off the heroes because they're going to be the hardest to dry brush. It's all about that speed, Looks like some kind of general, another thug. Definitely one of the things that could slow you down is when you're painting them and you have loads of models that are the same and you want to avoid the temptation of painting them all identical because you don't really want them to look identical. But at the same time, if you spend ages agonizing over it, that's where you're going to lose all your time. So what do you hate more? Having models that look the same? Or spending more time than you really meant to? Right, I think there's 6 thugs. That's my guess. 6 thugs. So I'm thinking do the trousers, the boots, the weapons, all the same, but do the jerkin differently. That's my thought process. So let's start with the darkest colour first. Why did I put my brown away? Oh jeez, I blinked and suddenly there was a bunch of messages. Never tried the XCOM board game, but I quite like the co-op versus an AI. The board game's good, especially if you can get someone else to buy it or split it. That's always a good idea as well. With games like that, well, I thought it had replayability. Especially even how many hours was that playthrough, you reckon? Probably about 100 hours. Yeah. Yeah, I would say about that. Not by that though, that's kind of gimmicky. Historical fiction, there we go. Yeah. Another good one, if you've never read them, is the Patch Combine, or again, audio books are available. And they're all about the Beagle. You may have seen the Master and Commander. Master and Commander with Crow. I've forgotten his first name.
Russell.
Sorry?
Russell.
Russell Crowe. Not to be confused with Russell Brand. Very different Russells. But that movie, was actually a combination of several books. So if you enjoyed that, definitely read it. Although, what I would recommend if you are going to do that, get yourself a book about the terminology of ships. Because, my goodness, if you don't know ships, there's a lot of jargon about ships. But again, another one of the historians. So it's an actual historian writing about the ships. That's it, Russell. Yep. I don't think I've got the chat on delay. I think it's just there is a few seconds latency. I think. But yeah, Patrick O'Brien. Excellent books. And another one where you've got hundreds and hundreds of them to listen to. So thousands of hours worth. Which is, again, always good if you don't have to think about what it is you're doing next. If you can do it mindlessly, put on the next book, put on the next book, put on the next book. That's always good. If you are instead a fan of crime, I do mean the book series, not as in committing crimes, but one that's sort of that sort of alley would be The Nightside by Simon R. Green. The Nightside by Simon R. Green, basically there is a weird London. I guess you could almost think of it a little bit like Malifaux if you ever played the board game. But you've got a private eye who may or may not be human, ? And he is solving sort of supernatural problems. And the dark side, the seedy underbelly of London, there are gods, there are monsters. And you've got this cocky private investigator trying to solve these sort of crimes and being an absolute badass throughout. Whenever I read those series, I always think of sort of Constantine in a way, because he's always described as, the dark eyes and the long trench coat and whatnot, which always strikes me as very Constantine. Has anyone else got anything like that kind of book series? Because I really did enjoy that. It's definitely one I would watch more of. Or listen to more of, I guess. Means you feel like urban fancy. Butchers, The Dresden Files. Yes. Absolutely. I need to keep remembering to add these to the list so I can put them in the chat. So we've got The Nightside. We've got Under the Eagles. We have Butchers, The Dresden Files. I guess I should put in the Horus Heresy. Mentioned those. And we also mentioned... Oh yeah, Patrick O'Brien. Fantastic. Claire's just pointed out that I have not mentioned one that we both very much like, Michael J. Sullivan. It's Back to Fantasy. I don't think it... Would it class as high fantasy? Maybe? I'll be honest with you, I'm not very good at determining what is high fantasy and what's fantasy. To me, if it's got dragons in it, then it's probably... I guess it might be high fantasy. It's got elves, it's got dragons. Well, it's got sort of dragons. But it's about two characters. One is your typical sour rogue, and one is your genial sword fighter. Both of them mysterious paths, but they're actually thieves for hire. So if you need something stolen, they will steal it for you. Now, do be prepared, because there's only 3 books in the main series. However, there are prequels, and we are very fortunate because the author's wife absolutely adores the characters and bullies the author into writing more. So we have a very good ally in that. Definitely someone that I would quite like to meet in person. Very nice chat by all accounts. Michael J. Sullivan. High fantasy, low fantasy. It's all good, mate. Good, good. I'd be very unfortunate if you held it against me. You call yourself a real nerd? You don't know the difference between high fantasy and low fantasy. Well, I think of high fantasy as reading about dragons when you've smoked too much. That'd be high fantasy. I have not read Fritz Lieber's Lankhermer series. Nailed the pronunciation, I think we can all agree. Fritz Lieber's Lankhermer. Ooh. There was an error. Please try again. Well, I'll take a screenshot of it. It is on Audible though, confirmed. Let's add that to the list. Definitely need a keyboard under the table. Edward Brody's Eden's Gate. Oh, up there with Conan the Barbarian. Well, that's definitely worth a read then. Edward Brody's Eden's Gate. Oh my goodness. My poor Audible library. Oh my goodness, I'm going to end up with a backlog on my Audible. No! Need a backlog of one to find the other. So let's have a look at this one. Sometimes you sort of want to look at the artwork to sort of hope that it maybe rings a bell. But nope, this is another one. A lit RPG adventure book. That sounds cool. Nice. I'll definitely have a look at that as well. Fancy about it's inside. Lovely, thank you. Right. What's up next? Grey for the boots. We're going to have black boots. So I just need a grey. Black glaze. That's not grey. It's not grey at all. Let's go with the brown grey. That'll do. That's inside a game. Nice. I've not heard of that either. God, do you remember the Fighting Fantasy books? Still got them all at my parents' house. I keep meaning to bring them back. But then I just know if I bring them back, I'll realise that I still have gaps in my collection. And they're one of those funny ones. They go in circles of sort of price, where sometimes they absolutely explode in price, and sometimes they're really reasonably priced. And last time I was looking, they were at their explosion. So I almost don't want to bring them back yet, because I know that I'll want to complete the set, and that'll just make me sad if I can't. Right, I've got some red on my palette, and I've got some brown on my palette. So one of these guys, at least, well, let's say 2 of the guys, are going to get ready brown jerkins. Remember, the key is get as much stuff on the paints, get as much on them as possible, as quickly as possible. We're trying not to hesitate. We're trying to get stuff done. if you've never tried them, you can actually buy on the Google store. You can buy like Escape to oh goodness, fire. I want to say Escape to Firetop Mountain, but why would you escape to Firetop Mountain? The Warlock. Oh no, how embarrassing. Warlock of Firetop Mountain. That's it. You can actually get the Fighting Fantasy books as like in the Play Store. I played through last year. Oh my goodness, the jungle one that has the shapeshifter on the front. And you know what? It was just blooming fun. But do you know what the worst thing is? And just a word of warning to you: if you decide to go down that route, you can't put your finger on one page and go, I'm just gonna have a look. Oh, undo, because they don't let you do that. Believe it or not, you can't put your thumb on one page and flick through on a virtual book game. I don't know if you would call it a book, really. Definitely almost approaching a game. Fighting Fantasy 40 is something. Warlock of Firetop Mountain. Even with it right in front of me, I'm still finding it difficult to say. But thanks for putting it in there. But yeah, absolutely love those. Although, how salty were you? I got right into them. I'd have like a piece of paper and I would like draw out the route. So if I died, I could like do it again. Although my dad always disagreed, and he always said, you know what, that's cheating. If you die, you wouldn't actually get to keep your map, would you? I says, that's the least realistic thing. It's not the fact that I'm trying to fight a Hydra, and I didn't pick up the band of strength by arm wrestling the man in the mysterious villa. Yep, that was a real thing, it really happened, and it really killed my character. It's one of those things, though, isn't it? If you, if you're about my age and you were playing those kinds of games, we didn't have the internet. Those were the most exciting things. Still good. Still good. Okay, so we got some red on these guys. Definitely going to need a wash on these guys to get some of the definition back. Did you play the 2-book version where you played with a mate as rivals? What? No. Oh my goodness. What is that called? A fighting fantasy game where you played other sides? Please do put that in the chat. I want to check that out. Wonder if I could get someone to do that on stream. Because one of those things, isn't it? It felt like the books would take forever, but in actual fact, they could go pretty quick. If you lost to the goblins, turn to page 187. I'm not going to turn to page 187. You're going to kill me. Yeah, but you lost. You've got to turn to page 187. I don't want to. I have to say, snakebite leather. One of my absolute favourite paint colours. Oh my goodness. More and more. Joe Dever's Lone Wolf series was pretty much in the same vein and very good. Joe Devers Lone Wolf. I bet it'll turn out that all this chat actually stays at the end of the stream and I didn't need to write any of this down. But I should probably write my own suggestions down because otherwise I'll have to remember them. It's a role-playing game, video game. Joe Devers Lone Wolf is a role-playing video game developed by a telling story. Oh, okay, so it's a video game. It's not a book. Ooh. That'll have to be added to a separate list. But that does sound good. I cannot remember what they were called. I don't think it was an official FF one. Definitely had one, might have two. Wow. I'll definitely want to check those out. They sound awesome. There's the Time series of board games where it's not really the same thing actually because you're on the same side for those. I'm sure there are board game equivalents of it. Can't think of any off the top of my head that sort of where you don't know what's one another doing. It started as a book. Very cool. Don't know if you'd be able to turn it into an audiobook. We tried pretty hard to do like when we were doing our Warhammer Fantasy sort of campaigns, Blood in the Badlands, we always tried to do narrative stuff. So you had like sort of your introduction, clan rat lord, Squirch marched onto the battlefield, surveyed the land, saw the armies of the fetid man things raid amongst them. Yes, it would be a good battle today. I always thought if we could combine all of those into a story, it'd be amazing. We did that for 2 years. And, yeah, then just unfortunately life got in the way. I think it was exams. I think it might be final year exams got in the way. Which is a shame. One of my plans was I've actually got more cameras set up than you can actually see, because the way it was set up, the idea was I also wanted to be able to bring people in via Discord so people could show what they were actually doing. And I'll definitely have that set up for next time, and also so people could drop in and out of the actual audio as well, so it wasn't always just on a delay. But unfortunately it took longer than I expected to actually get everything else set up, like just working out stuff. But I did manage to solve it, so for next time I do have that, because that would be pretty cool to see what you guys are all up to. Stephen, I don't think I asked you. Are you doing some hobbying? If not, go get some hobbying stuff, whether it's building, cleaning models, sorting paints. It could be whatever you like. The aim of the game is to actually have something done. At the end of this, I want you to be able to be loud and proud and say, you know what? I did something. Every other Wednesday, we sit down, we answer to one another. Maybe we should have a hashtag on Instagram or something, because I would love to see what you are working on. I mean, I've got the advantage of people like Carl. I'm going to get to see it on his YouTube channel. Unless, of course, you have a YouTube channel. Highland miniatures. I mean, obviously, being a red-blooded Scot, I now want to know if they're anything to do with Scottish. Highland miniatures. Do I recognise the name? Highland miniatures. Oh, they're nice. Whoa, they're really nice. Oh my goodness. What? Ah, so you can't... Ah, that'll be why I've not heard of them. I don't have a 3D printer. They are nice. They are... Did they do Pegasus, actually? Because if so, I might actually have some of their models. Highland Miniatures. Pegasus. You know what? I've actually got some of their miniatures. The Wonder Emporium. Nigel over at the Wonder Emporium, who you can check out at thewonderemporium.co.uk. He actually sent me a bunch, and they are in my pile to paint. Games Workshop did Bretonia such a dirty. Can we not at least get knights back into Age of Sigmar? Got a big Chaos army I still need to paint. I really like the new models that they brought out for the Chaos Knights. They were nice. I've got a bunch of the old ones, you know, the metal ones, plastic ones, etc. No, those are nice Highland miniatures. Very good. One of the ones I follow, which is funny because again, don't have a 3D printer, but I bought a whole bunch of their prints, is called Rats. I unfollowed them on Discord. I follow them on Patreon. Titan Lords? Something like that? Lord of the Print? Lord of the Print. Lord of the Print? Lord of the Print. But they do amazing like stuff for if you wanted to ever make, you know, the Elder... Yeah, it is. Lord of the Print. But they do absolutely amazing models. If you ever wanted to make the Aldari faction, the one that where they are like sort of wild and savage, they do amazing like dinosaur models. Their latest one there is the Siren Song. You get a fin toad, a kraken, mermaids, rayman, crab waders. Don't even know how to say that. Torscargo and 3 whales. I like the whales. But they do really cool stuff. I've backed them several times. Once each to get the 2 dinosaurs, which again Nigel at the Wonder Emporium actually printed off me the I can't remember if it's a Brachiosaurus, but it's absolutely ridiculous. It's like 2 or 3 foot long. It's the biggest single 3D print I've ever seen, like in person. I'm sure there's been bigger, but that is really cool. Yeah, Lord of the Print. He's cool. Lost track of which colour I was dry brushing. Doesn't look like any of those. Looks like it was a cream. That colour's just gone on my palette. Let's see if I can't make it up again. Let's do that. Close enough. It'll do. I'm going to regret deciding to only do this with dry brushing when I get to the skin tones, but that's a problem for Sam in a little bit. Printing goes ever on, yeah. Their stuff when they started a couple of years ago was fine. It was you know, it's probably as good as say Mantic's was at the time. But their new stuff, the Harad stuff or whatever they're calling it, oh, so nice. The Camel Rider stuff, absolutely fantastic. Now there's another one I do as well because they do sort of a nostalgia stuff. And they've done like the biker mice from Mars, the street sharks, etc. Toodle Pips, thank you very much for coming, Carl. We will be waiting to see your Swamp Monster video when it comes out. Thanks for joining us. Maybe in 2 weeks' time you can join us again. Or next week if the Hobby Hoarders podcast isn't back, as Matt is still in Thailand. And it depends how busy he is when he gets back. I think the chat is in real time. Like if I respond in chat with text, I think it's instant. Whereas obviously this is with a delay. It's funny, doing this has definitely helped me understand when you are like watching someone on YouTube and you send them a message and it feels like forever until they get it. This is why. Because of the strange delay. But another series that I absolutely love is called The Magician by Raymond E. Feist. And as you can probably guess from the name, it's another fancy. Have a wild guess which genre is probably my favourite. I say probably, is definitely my favourite. I've definitely read more sci-fi books than I've watched sci-fi movies, I would say. Again, sci-fi. Something really controversial and shocking. Star Wars is okay. I've read a couple of the books, and to be honest with you, It's called Carl Makes Stuff. If you might be able to click on his name. If not, just type in Carl Makes Stuff. You'll find it really easily. Really good stuff. Carl Makes Stuff. He has some absolutely superb tutorials on there. Yeah, I had so I actually run the biggest, or at least last time I checked, it was the biggest. It has about 8,500, 9,000 members. Zombicide page on Facebook, and the second they announced that they were doing a fantasy version of it, I was like, you know what? I'm done with the modern version. Had everything, sold it all, and then immediately went and bought all the fantasy stuff. So I absolutely agree with you. Fantasy all the way. Yeah, so the remaining Feist books, and it actually has probably my favourite spin-off ever. There's one called The Daughter of the Empire, and basically, not to give too many spoilers away, but at one point there's a war between worlds, and I don't mean that was meant to be the alien from War Between Worlds. But there is basically a segue, and there is basically something sort of feudal Japan-ish, and it's the rise of this girl from her family, which is in a bad place, and a rise through the ranks. It's absolutely fantastic. It's called the Akoma series, and it was a combination between Raymond D. Feist and Jenny Works, who you may know from the Living Ship series. Let's see. I was adding it to my list. That's what I was doing. So, The Magician. I'm going to put in the Akoma series separately because you could absolutely read those separately and it would still make sense. And since I'm making the list, I make the rules. My barbarians are looking a little anemic at the moment. Definitely need out in the sun a little bit more. Speaking of Simon R. Green, though, if you are a sci-fi lover, no judging here, the Deathstalker series. The Deathstalker series is one of those wonderful series which is, sort of skating that line between sci-fi and fantasy. I guess really anything could be fantasy, but sci-fi and sort of your more traditional. Mainly because it is in a world where, due to technology restrictions and whatnot, swords are actually used a lot. Basically, your laser weapons are sort of cancelled out by your laser shields, and so a sword is just as good as trying to use your energy crystal weapons, which are like 1 shot, 2 shots if you got an amazing one. And it's one of those ones where you're in a evil sort of dystopian future already, where there's a evil ruling empress, and you are one of the upper class, the crust, and your family has sort of a bit of a history going on about it. And due to a bunch of stuff happening, you end up getting accused and have to sort of run away from the family. And then you accidentally end up having to take on the Empire. But yeah, that's good. If you enjoyed that one. Some really scary twists to it with, deeper, darker monsters. Sometimes it's one of those book series where what's the greater evil? The evil that's trying to take command and rule, but is preventing something perhaps worse. It's definitely one of those storylines. These miniatures, these are from the Journey to Middle Earth. So these are the You get 6 sort of human thugs. Definitely need a better camera. This one has... If it has autofocus, it's lying. But yeah, these are the thugs for the core box. Which is still going. The app's still supported. And they released an expansion for it not that long ago. Once I've got these all done up, I want to do a playthrough of it. Not necessarily on the camera or anything like that, just for a fun play. Do you know what? The funnest one I had is I paint a lot of Titan Troll. They make some absolutely fantastic miniatures, especially their busts. I think I've got one of their busts handy. Oh, can I reach my hand inside? No, not without bringing it down. I've got a cool Alice in Wonderland bust. And the guy commented, because I tagged him in so many of the busts that I painted, and then I put a picture up that I'd got this, and he said, my favourite model is the dwarf. I went, that's cool, it's a really cool model. Good choice, you know, I'm a big fan. Gimli, best character in Lord of the Rings. And he said, yeah, because I made the dwarf. So if you know who Titan Troll is, if you don't know who Titan Troll is, check them out. If you're a fan of 3D printing, you'll definitely like his work. But yeah, he made the dwarf. That was really cool. What did they say? Kevin Bacon, 6 degrees of separation. Yeah, Deathstalker's definitely one of those ones where, you know, it'd be really cool if they released like a miniatures game or a board game based on it. Yes, that's it. Absolutely. Yeah, the busts. Painted loads of them. Again, for the Wonder Emporium, actually. Nigel prints them off, sends them over. I get to paint a cool miniature. One of my favourites is actually a misprint. It was a dwarf who came with a cleft lip. Ended up keeping that one because I just liked how it came out so much. I've done the Succubus. I've done, you can check them out on Instagram. I've done the Plague Doctor. A lot of them I did airbrush only runs. Not because I necessarily think that one particular medium's better than the other, but when you get it out, you're either going to airbrush everything or dry brush everything, or just not bother. I don't know about you, but I definitely like to just sit down and not have to think when I'm doing these kind of things. Because I get an analysis paralysis. I'll end up just sitting and thinking about how I'm going to paint a model for so long rather than actually painting it. I've got a couple of models who, like Bellacore, really happy with how most of Bellacore came out. And I've got like his sword left to do, which is obviously something pretty important to the model, faces and weapons. And I'm just so petrified that I'll stuff it up. Poor chap has been stuck on hold for ages. So again, another thing. Well, at this point, he's more for you know, a cheeky little video about OSL. Okay. Rightio, so we got that done. Need some actual flesh in these flesh tones. So let's get some pink. Every time I'm having to shake this, I'm thinking, oh, that vortex mixer would be good. Nope, still coming out running. Let's get a different cream. Hello. Now I'm kind of tempted to get out the speed paint. I always think people that are talking about speed paint, especially other YouTubers, they're always really, really good artists. And I'm always looking at them, I'm just going, speed paint's not for you. It's not for you. It's for people like me who aren't amazing painters and also only care about time. as I've said in many a video, I honestly think that any painted model is better than grey plastic. Wow, that guy's looking pink. I should do polka dots on him and just make him Mr. Blobby. It's quite a UK TV reference, admittedly. Yeah, with a wash on him, he'll be fine. Hold my airbrush for the Highland Huge Beastie. It's getting my nerve up. I don't think you can... the scariest thing about airbrushes are the fact that you're worried that you'll break your airbrush. And not to make you scared of giving it a go, but I am on my second airbrush. But I think you sort of almost have to write your first one off. You just have to. Just go for it. You know, don't buy a £300, £400 one. I still don't have that. Mine's still £50. And I would recommend it for anyone. Just for, you know, being able to prime stuff indoors when it's horrible outside. It's just good. What's the big beastie? Is it a big undead creature for your undead? So a little reminder though. Oh, absolutely the nope. For contrast to speed paint, I did loads of tests in my blog, and I found I prefer them. You need to stick your blog in the chat for people so they can find it as well. Don't remember off the top of my head. Maybe you said it in a previous post. Yeah, I didn't have a massive opinion about speed paint or contrast paint. When I first did my test video on it, I didn't find reactivation. And then when I did my video like talking about reactivation, it's because I was rubbing water on it. And I was just like, what? Why am I rubbing water on this? This seems so odd. I wouldn't do this to any other paint. But again, I was using them as one and done. Whereas, you know, people like Juan Hidalgo, you know, who is someone that uses contrast at a very high level. They obviously do multiple layers, and for them it wasn't speeding things up. One thing I am excited about is the Games Workshop, the new purples. I'm really looking forward to when those come out, because both the purple in the contrast paint range and the speed paint range sucked. Or at least they were far too dark for my taste. I wanted something much, much lighter. It's 4 years since you used your airbrush. Oh, you better hope that you clean that out before you put that away. If not, you're going to have to soak the whole thing in isopropyl alcohol or whatever cleaner you use. Make sure it's not too harsh though. And if you are going to use something abrasive like that, you do need to get the airbrush lubricant. Well, you might already have some. I think the Flying Nazgul from Lord of the Rings, and stick a different wraith in the back and have it climbing over the tomb. That sounds cool. That sounds really cool. I got a couple printed out by, again, Wonder Emporium, but it's the models by Lord of the Print. Again, very, very cool ones. Good. ATP. If that was aimed at me, I've got the Spar Max, and I've used 2 of them. If it's aimed at Stephen, Stephen, if you could let us know which airbrush you have. We always looking forward to gear acquisition syndrome. Gear acquisition syndrome. Gas. I got gas, man. I got real bad gas. I was painting 6mm landscape and was flinging paint and then adding in white for faces. Cool. Me too on the purple. Yeah. But again, we'll see. And then again, when I was reading about it, it turns out what color I wanted might not actually be purple, and the color I might actually want was violet. Because I didn't know this, and you might already know this, but is it purple's not a color, but violet is? I guess you've got, violet light, don't you? Whereas you don't have purple light per se. So maybe that's what makes it harder to make a good one. Give them their excuses. Although, like I said, the new ones looked like it had a good one. Oh, yeah. Yeah. If you were adding white on top of speed paint, I can absolutely see how that would cause a problem. Dean Paint Things, who hopefully is feeling better soon. He recently broke his clavicle. He was getting a bit too competitive in his kids' sports day in the dad's race. Ouch. But he did a video on speed paint, and he discovered that pretty quick. I was really cheesy with that because I pre-ordered it from Amazon. It ended up arriving really early, which was nice. My Airbrush was a cheap one off of Amazon. Works for what I wanted to do. Anyone else tempted by that one Ninjon was doing? And he did the little handheld thing, which was like a Chinese one. Were you trying to make it look jaundiced in the plagued? Did the army want to look jaundiced? Oh, and have you got a link to your blog as well? That'd be cool. Just put a link to the blog in there. Claire's just messaged and she said, crafters have one Sable, Stas acquisition beyond life expectancy. Yeah, that's one of the funny things is if you're looking for someone who doesn't judge you for how much stuff you have, especially unpainted stuff, get a crafter and a hobbyist, and they will have equally as much stuff hidden around the house as you will. Yeah, the Horus Heresy diorama will get done at some point. ATP, have you got any book series that you'd recommend? That's what we're going to try and remember that we're here to talk about. Book series that are good to read or just in general on Audible. Love a good Audible book. Right, let's get a lighter brown for these cuddles. For these cuddles. Cudgels. And the hardest part of all is I'm going to eventually have to do the studs on them, which, well, they're raised, so fingers crossed my brush can get them. Is this the brush I've been using? Oh dear, someone didn't clean the brush out very well. And by someone, I mean me. Got stuff in it. The Way of Kings. Are they sarcastically large books? Like they're just... Yeah. I feel like they're written by Brandon?
Sanderson.
Not the Brandon Sanderson.
Yes.
Oh. Way of Kings, Brandon Sanderson.
I've got them.
I need to look up a cheeky little synopsis.
I've got them if you want them.
Guy who reads it on Audible is also good. Nice. I wonder if it'll turn out to be someone we know. I absolutely love that. See when you open up a new audiobook and you're like, right, let's get ready. I love this book. So if this guy's not good, and then it turns out it's someone you recognise, that is just awesome. It is narrated by Michael Kramer. Now, I definitely have listened to stuff by Michael Kramer. What have I heard Michael Kramer do? Unless he's also an actor. Michael Kramer. American narrator. Of course. what else would Michael Kramer have done? But the Mistborn series, the Final Empire, which again is really good. Fantasy, not high fantasy, that one. Again, we live in a dystopian future where the evil empire has won, and we're waiting for sort of the chosen one to appear. And for this particular world, you can eat metals, so different people can eat different types of metals. Some of the metals might be, I want to say, copperhead. It means that they can sort of influence people's emotions. You've got iron, which means you can push or pull. And you've got all these different kinds of metals. And basically, most people can only do one. Some people are really strong, can do two. And then the chosen ones can, do them all. And yeah, that's really good. That's absolutely one that you should read. So, the Final Empire. I was wondering why I would recognise the name Kramer. That'll be the one that I've heard him from. Pardon?
It's also Brandon Sanderson.
Yeah. He also did the Robert Jordan stuff.
Yep.
Do I add that to my list? What do we think? Where does everyone do? Let's do a little poll on this. So, Wheel of Time, good? Question mark. Yes, no. I don't even need any more than that. The Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan. What does the chat think of that? Can I vote in my own poll? Can I vote? Ugh. Why can I not vote? No. I was hoping people would vote no and they could just end the poll immediately. Sam said that was his proudest magic system. It is very cool. It was novel. I don't remember ever reading about someone eating metals, and like doing that kind of control. So yeah, I would. If I was him, I would definitely be proud. Now that's still setting it. Not sure, never read it. There is the TV series. I still haven't sort of brought my. Is the TV series out?
Mm-hmm.
I think it is. Yeah. Still not got around to watching that. But I always say to people, don't bypass the 5th book, because almost everyone that I know, if they were going to get stuck on it, you get stuck on the 5th book. It's the 5th book that gets you. I started up several times and it was always the 5th book that got me. Always the 5th book. I can't believe it. Wheel of Time, still 100% yes. Outrageous. Not true. Claire's put in Steelheart Reckoners Book 1. If people like the boys. I do like the boys. I have, however, not read that. Oh, it's a TV series. Nice. I don't know if I've ever read it. Have I ever read like a comic book one, by like Marvel or DC or anything like that about superheroes? I don't know if I've ever read a book about superheroes. I feel like it should have been a genre that I would have read, but I don't. There was one on Netflix and Amazon that we watched called Shadow and Bone, which both Claire and I could never really decide if we loved it or not. But we watched it and watched the next episode. It's like American Gods. Again, not read the book. I've watched the TV series. It was just sort of hypnotizing. You just sort of watch the next episode after the next episode after the next episode. But then there was that massive gap. I can't remember why there was a massive gap. But that stopped us. And then I just lost all momentum. Right, you guys are looking a little bit too generic. We need some brighter colours up the top, I think. Oh, I think I'm going to end that poll. Sadly, it doesn't look like I'm going to get the nose of winning. I was trying to rig that poll, to be honest. David Eddings, yep, we talked about David Eddings. Fantastic book series, Bill Gary, then The Mandalorian. Not Mandalorian, Malorian. Very good. Getting to the Oh Lord, what colour do I paint this bit stage? What bit is it? What bit is it? Let us know. We'll we'll get up the picture. We'll help you out. Just keep going, you can do it. Just choose a colour. Have at it. You can always change your mind, that's the beautiful thing about painting. Once there's paint on everything, then you can start being fussy. But until there's paint on everything, just get it done. Do not put that model down. For as long as this stream is on, you are not allowed to put that model down. You keep painting it. I'm running out of parts on my dry palette. That is dry. Well enough. I'll have to use a tissue. Right, let's see. Was that wiped off enough, or am I going to regret this? Meh, it was fine. It was fine. Yeah, these look messy. It's fine. Once we've done a cheeky wash over the top, then if we want to, we can come in with another focus dry brush. For now, all we're interested in getting them done. Getting them done. Another good one, if you're looking for it, is Terry Brooks. Terry Brooks, that you might know from the Sword of, I'm going to absolutely butcher this, Shannara. I actually know Terry Brooks not from that, but because of his Magic Kingdom for Sale Sold, which is actually another TV series. Absolutely would recommend. Rich lawyer wants to, change up his life. Finds in a fancy magazine a kingdom for sale. You can be the king if you pay $1 million. So he buys it, becomes king. But the kingdom is in ruins, and it needs to be pulled back together. And so that's the story and adventures. Highland Miniatures with Cavalry, the bit between the spectral horse and the horse trappings. Do I go for metallic or leather? So that leather wins. Metal can go over it easily if I don't like it. That's the attitude. Hell yeah. Think of the leather as a base coat for a rusty metal. If you change your mind, it's only paint. And unless you're trying to win a golden demon, you don't need to even strip the model. Just throwing controversial statements out there. Everywhere. I think sometimes people use stripping as an excuse. They say they're raising money to get through college, but I mean stripping miniatures. You use stripping miniatures as an excuse. Oh, I can't paint that. It's in the stripper. Oh, great. So you've got no backlog. You have not got a single other model that needs painted. I'm not sure I believe that. And it's fine. These look a little bit bright, but it's fine. After we've done a cheeky wash to deaden them down, we'll be all good. Although I'll probably end up doing the bases and then have to come back for the wash. Some of this paint, even though it's dry brushed on, still a little bit wet. One of my favourite tips that I saw recently in a video was actually someone talking about OSL. And don't wait until the end to do your OSL. Blend your OSL in with when you're painting each of the bits of the colour. So if you're painting the jerkin, do the OSL now. Save you having to come back for it later. Which I thought was pretty good advice. Or, you know, just get an airbrush and just do it over the top. Airbrushing is not cheating. No matter what they say. Getting your stuff done is never cheating. You know what? Even if you pay someone else to do it, I don't care. You're getting the stuff done. That's all that really matters. I guess who did it is irrelevant. One video I definitely want to do is about the main techniques for mass painting stuff with as little effort as possible. Of course, you can do them looking like oxidized statues. That always looks good. Stone statues, always good. Ghosts, always good. Two-tone. So if you get something like a blue rattle can and a red rattle can, spray both of them. That always looks good. Sin City style. So if you do them in a grayscale, so basically just zenithal them, because if you've never looked at your model when it's been zenithaled and gone, oh, that looks amazing, I would argue you're not zenithaling right. Or you're a really good painter, I guess. But then you just pick out a couple of pieces and you just do them a colour. Well, if you want to go full Sin City, that's got to be a bright, bright red. Which is always another good way of doing it. Look at that. Lovely. Lovely jubbly again. Those bits of pink, not worried about them all, because when we do a wash, that's always going to blend together anyway, so not a problem. So, only other thing I want to do is dry brush on some metal onto the sword and the haft. Do the base. And then move on to the next ones. Well, it's probably too long on these. Tad Williams, Thorn series. Now, why did I stop reading those? I remember when I was reading it, I was like, wow, I can definitely see where George R.R. Martin got a lot of his inspiration from. I remember reading some things about it, and people were like, oh, this Tad Williams guy copied J.R.R. Martin. He's talking about White Walkers and stuff like that. Of course, it's the other way around. Tad Williams came first. I don't remember. It was a really big book. I remember it being a really big, chunky book. That may be a good one to be an audiobook. I have not read The Memory Sorrow. I hardly ever strip a miniature. I just re-undercoat to white and off I go again. Yeah, it's fine. Just think of it as priming it more. It was starting to get me painting. I blogged every day and then needed something to put on the blog, so I painted more. Nice! Are you still managing to paint every day? I did manage to keep that up for a little while. Where is my list? Let's add it to the list. So we've got Tad Williams. And that's the Thorn series and the Memory. Are those three different series, ATP? Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn? Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn. If so, I think I've only read the Thorn. Oh, wow, done. It's amazing. Painting every single day. One Vallejo paint I've always found a little bit hit or miss is their bolt gun silver. I've definitely found that from time to time the bolt gun silver just seems to separate, and then you just end up with like a grey sludge. But then again, you really don't know how old mine is. Could be very old. These kind of miniatures I'm almost tempted, especially with dry brushing, to actually just do non-metallic and just do like a dark grey. Alright, okay, so I've read the first one of it. I'm going to continue to do a bit slow, but the painting continues. Ah, nice. Instagram's always good. You just have to fight the urge to put up finished models. I think that's the main thing. don't feel like everybody else is finishing a miniature every single day. But I do know the feeling of you really don't want to paint the same miniature multiple times in a row. There's a guy I follow who does Necron Army. He's always embarrassed to put his pictures up because it's always a Necron, and the next one's a Necron, and next one's a Necron. But they're always different. They always look nice. I don't think you should ever feel that. And I also think, you know, not enough work in progresses, not true work in progresses get put up. You know, people put whip, but then it's pretty much done, and you're like, oh, come on. You know, I need someone else to do an actual whip. Although we won't be doing any nay. Not that kind of thing. There was another book series if you're into sci-fi. And basically what you've got is the world has been irradiated, and basically the people underneath thought everyone above was dead, everyone above thought everyone below was dead. Below have maintained their technology. I know this is beginning to sound like Fallout. It's not Fallout. And then the above have sort of devolved a bit, but also evolved, I guess, because they've also mutated. I read the whole series, but I don't remember it. Don't know if that one rings any bells to anyone. Sci-fi series. Half of them highly advanced, half of them highly not. And I don't even remember the details enough to tell you if there's a Romeo and Juliet love story in it, but I can almost guarantee you there's a Romeo and Juliet love story in it. Because why not? Of course, if you are into sci-fi of the Warhammer variety, or just general sci-fi, Gaunt's Ghosts. Gaunt's Ghost is one of the book series I've definitely read and listened to the most. And every single time I get to certain books, and every single time I shed a manly tear. Yeah, the Gaunt's Ghost series, I was really happy. Got for birthday or anniversary, whatever, the new Gaunt's Ghost models, which were very cool. Very much regret selling my old metal ones during one of my many moves. Stupid mistake. Don't sell your old miniatures. Keep them. Keep them. Hoard them. Because you never know when you might change your mind and you want to keep hold of it. And now they're like £100 each. Blah. The Lord of the Rings, my friends, where I lived, were not interested in Lord of the Rings. Sold Lord of the Rings. And then all the guys in Carlisle managed to get back into Lord of the Rings. You absolutely gets. I'm waiting for a bunch of winged beasties to get posted out to me. Some fell beasts. And then I'm going to do a video where I literally just paint those for, I don't know, 10 hours. Do the entire army in one sitting. For that, though, I will definitely use my airbrush. Again, it's not cheating if you're just getting it to get your model done. It's never cheating. Right. Yeah, I spent too long faffing with that troll, definitely. Currently rebuilding my nostalgia armies. Is that like what you're collecting the undead? Shetlands? Like Shetland Islands or just Shetland? If so, that's a long way north. You've gone much further north to Carlisle than I've gone south to Manchester. Jeez. If it turns out to be an embarrassingly close place, I am going to blame it Unfailed geography, literally. Oh my goodness. That explains how you manage to paint every single day. I cannot remember for the life of me, but I have a marble chess set that was actually mined from either Orkney or Shetlands and like made there. My parents went there for a holiday and brought it back. Marble chess set. Again, this lovely Vallejo mud. You can either put it on and then spray the base, paint it whatever colour you need it to be, or it's a great brown colour. One thing that I always mean to do is take a rattle can or some kind of stainer, and I've got this big pot of white rocks. I just want to stain them so they look like real rocks. Because it always makes me absolutely amazed when people spend ages taking a beautiful bit of bark and repainting it. I'm like, just use that as your base. We have 22 hours of daylight here. ATP, are you any good at chess? I hope that's aimed at Stephen. And you're picking a chess game with me. Am I good at chess? I beat a Grand Master's granddaughter. However, it was purely fluke. It was when I worked for Vodafone. And it was during a shift. Quiet shift. Whipped out the old phone-a-roo with chess on it. She spent the entire time telling me about how she's the granddaughter of a chess master. I was just messing around, throwing my models around. Checkmated her. Pure fluke. And then refused to ever play her again because I knew that if she took it seriously I would lose. So I don't know. You have to beat a grandmaster to be a grandmaster? Oh, I don't remember. I believe she was Polish. If that narrows it down. But no, I'm not good at chess. Unless it's Mortal Kombat chess. If it's Mortal Kombat chess, I'll take you. Because in Mortal Kombat chess, each of the characters has different power boosts and health boosts. But if you're good with the character, then it doesn't matter how good you are at chess because you can just win every fight in Mortal Kombat. And I used to play that online quite a lot. And I would have Ermac as my pawns. And I was pretty darn good at Mortal Kombat at the time. And yeah, I could beat people's queens with my Ermacs, my little pawns. But real chess, no. Tried checkers once. My friend absolutely creamed me at checkers. The fact that you even know that suggests that you probably know something about chess. One of my favourite stories, though, is my dad is pretty good at chess. He was... Whenever he was travelling, he would take his little travel chess set. You got to be good at chess to carry a chess set everywhere with you. He was sitting on the train, travelling to one of his, sites, playing chess against himself. And there's a guy sitting there, and he says, "Oh, you fancy a game?" So he starts playing my dad, and the guy goes, "Oh, you're pretty good." And like myself, my dad is one to give a good old brag. And so he starts bragging about how good he is at chess, how he was the school champion, university champion, yada yada yada. The guy listens and smiles ever so politely, listening to this random stranger bragging about his chess prowess. Then the thing came over the tannoy. Oh no, next stop. And the guy went, well, this has been fun. Checkmate. And he introduced himself. My dad, who, you know, at this time was like yourself ATP, you know, knew something about chess. The guy introduced himself. And my dad, he was like, oh, you're a grandmaster. And at the time, there weren't that many grandmasters as is. So yeah. I need to check the name of it. He's told me so many times, but I always forget. But yeah, that's true hubris. You know, he was so busy bragging that he didn't realise he was playing someone much better than him. We are 400 miles from the Arctic Circle, expedition between Aberdeen and Oslo. Yeah, that's pretty far north. We were talking about it, so I assume you're still within the same time zone. But the fact that, you know, France and Spain being south of us. I mean, technically anything's northy if you travel north far enough. I will check and I will let you know. Right, I need some grass tufts. Again, if you missed it earlier, War Painter Scenics. Big bag, 160, muffed, mixed turfed, of flowers, different types of grass. 5-6 quid. Absolute bargain. You know what? Some of you guys can have some lavender. Set off your eyes, so lovely. Funniest thing, I went to go and see, you know, the old Greenwich Park to go and see the aviary, and it was really funny because just walking up towards the aviary, and there was parakeets in the grass in London. Not exactly somewhere that you're expecting to see them. Escape from the old rundown aviary. We actually had some quails escape, and I always wondered, you know, if you were to walk around Ayrshire, would you encounter some wild quail? Books, that's what we're talking about. Audible books that are good to listen to. Cyphus Cain. Bit of a theme going on here. First we've got the Commissar Gaunt. Now we've got Commissar Cain. Also a very good book series with quite a few. Always worth listening to. Oh, quail are sneaky things, aren't they? There's another one I like as well, but again, I haven't listened to it a massive number of times, called Shogunate. And the reason it's in my head recently is because I was round at Matt's recording the podcast, and we got chatted about it, and he actually has the original board game, Shogunate, which is pretty cool. Which of course is what the book's based on. The video game's based on. The book's based on. Well, it's based on the book. Musashi. See mad psychotic murdering things. Some type of falcon nesting in Glasgow Uni Tower. Oh, very cool. Is Musashi a book? We're talking about quail, then we're talking about falcons, then we're talking about Musashi, but 50 odd hours long. And then see mad psychotic murdering things. i.e. the birds are. Musashi. Ah. I don't think I've read that one. Musashi. I will add that to the list. I'm going to cheat now and give myself a reminder of the other ones I've got on my my podcast list. I've been re-listening to the God's Coast, so they're all up the top. So many random ones. When they do the buy one get one free books, you know, you always buy books that you wouldn't necessarily, you know, randomly buy. Talons of Horus. He Who Fights with Monsters. These are not series. One that I was disappointed by that I always thought I would like is there's one where there's like a PI but it's set back in Roman times. But for me, I could never get into it because the book's written in first person. I'm not a fan. I did it, unless it's like an autobiography or biography sort of thing. In which case, I is absolutely fine. Eisenhorn series, another sci-fi series. If you don't know the 40k universe, basically you've got these things called Inquisitors. They are like one of the most powerful sort of orders in the Imperium. Basically, you got ones that hunt down heretics and mutants. You got ones that hunt down aliens. And Eisenhorn, a little bit of a renegade. You know, not the most trustworthy fellow in the world. But he gathers together a group of, you know, misfits and whatnot to fit in with his purpose. And it's all about his stories, finding artifacts, power, chasing down heretics, yada yada yada. That's a very good series as well. Definitely worth a listen to. There's also a whole bunch spin-off from there as well. You've got things like Ravener. Ravener used to work for Eisenhorn. Various reasons doesn't do that anymore. And he has his own series. And they're currently writing another series based off of another one of the characters who's a blank. A blank, someone that is not just not a psyker, but someone that is an anathema to psykers, someone that physically causes pain to psykers in their vicinity. And it's all about their sort of sad life and what's happened to them. That's a really good set of books. Again, you don't need to like 40k to enjoy those. Never bother with the book Spinosaurus. Ye gods, it was there. He even called it an amphibian. There's been quite a few things about Spinosauruses that have popped up recently. Someone made a YouTube video about it and they were absolutely ranting about it and they were like, why do they never get this monster right? Which made me laugh. Trudy Canavan. That's a good book series as well. Again, one of these sort of your sort of chosen ones. You know, turns out the person has way more secret powers than you thought. Just William. Forgotten that was in here. Hannibal. Robin Hobbs. Assassin's Apprentice. That's a really good series. Someone gets taken under their wing, you know, a illegitimate child gets trained as an assassin. Oh, what's the one? Way of Shadows by Brent Weeks. That's really good as well. Similar. Orphan child gets taken in by the most feared assassin. That was really good. There's one my wife really likes, which is the Sparhawk series. I want to say David Eddings, but I'm probably completely wrong. Oh my goodness, then of course you've got Terry Goodhind. Falco, yes. That was it. So many people have told me that Falco is, will be right up my street. Because again, big fan of all the Roman stuff. Every time I try and read it, it just drives me crazy. Oh, Robin Prob. And we've got a problem. Are we about to be told it's a problem with the writing style or a problem with the person? What is the issue with Robin Hobb? I mean, you can't leave us on that cliffhanger. There's issues with Robin Hobb. One I really enjoyed, it's Dragon Masters, and it's a quadrilogy, and it's about how dragons are sort of used as almost like messengers and carrier pigeon sort of things, and nobody's ever thought of using them in war. And this chap goes, "Hey, why are we not using these giant dragons to fight with?" Sounds absolutely preposterous there'd be a world where they didn't use them, but they didn't. And it's all about how they sort of adapt to this life of like martial prowess, which is again very cool. Come on, ATP, don't leave us hanging. What's the issue with Robin Hobb? Getting articles, getting prepared, long lists, citations. There's another one I was listening to recently. Again, it slipped my mind what it was called. It's about dragons and how like the dragon eggs have been cracked open. I want to say it was the same as the Living Ship series. So it might be Genie Works. Because people are using the eggs and making ships out of the eggs. These guys kind of look like Taskmaster. Seen a little bit. Let's get this bit lighter. Sort of a random one, if you don't mind random books rather than waiting for series. I really liked is called Legend, and it's about this old adventurer. He's past his prime, he's done, doesn't want to fight, but then he just decides, you know what, death's coming for me, and I'm sick and tired of waiting for him. So he goes back out in the world. Sort of Conan-ish, I guess. Sort of, vaguely. But it's how about, he's still an awesome fighter and people underestimate him, but, it's about using his head more than he used to. Dave Bratches, of course, always good for a cheeky listen. Always interesting. Robin Hobb, the story. So I read the first two trilogies in my teens and enjoyed them. Later found out about the final trilogy and decided to reread the beginning. Spoiler, it fell off the reason. Yeah, I can agree with that. I won't read it out because it is a spoiler for anyone that decides to read it. But I do not disagree. He's a wonderfully strange character. Yep, I agree. I've bought before. I used to use the Playbook store. I think it might be closed down actually. The Playbook store, but they used to do really good deals on like series, and you would like pay. You'd get like the first one free. First one's always free, man. Then you would end up with the second one, and the second one would be good. Then they would do like a bundle deal for the rest, and you'd be like, well, I enjoyed the first one, I enjoyed the second one. And I remember the number of times I bought like a bundle deal to get like the fourth, fifth, and sixth books all together, and they were utter tosh. Oh man, that drove me crazy. There's one in particular that really annoyed me because basically what you had was, oh, there was a dragon they were chasing down, and then they found the like footprint of the dragon. They then climbed down into the footprint of the dragon. There was a cave. They went in the cave. Then they came out of the cave. Then the dragon was looking down at them into the footprint. It was just, I was just like, this is ridiculous. And it was also one of those ones where it would be like, oh, you know, then the hero found his lasting strength a few seconds later. But the hero had no strength, so they found their lasting strength. And you're like, oh, come on. How many times have they found their lasting strength? I mean, come on. It's called your second win, not your 14th, 15th, and 16th. I know you've had second wind, but have you heard about 11th wind? Afternoon wind? Oh, so the Playbook store is still around. Ah, good. Good to know. Final highlight on these raggedy capes. And I'm going to try to do what that video said. It said, do your glow at the same time. So I'm going to do my glow at the same time. You know what these guys remind me of? They remind me of, is he called Taskmaster? The guy that's sort of like half skeleton in his white robes. I'm probably going to find out these are meant to be ring wraiths. I don't remember ring wraiths having skulls though. But yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why I haven't really listened to any, superhero ones. I'm surprised. I remember one as a kid was the Animorphs. Do you remember having the book and you would flick through the book and it would like slowly transform as it goes through? Fantastic. That's good to hear. Leather on the horses is looking good. Right, let's get this glow on the road. So I'm going to need a dark green to go everywhere, then a lighter green to go more focused, so on and so forth. And then we can put colours over the top. Oh, that's a nice rich green there, deep green. I've got the for the Underworld, I want to say it's called. I've got the Crimson Court for the vampires. In Ye Olde Good Days of Fantasy, I just remember we did this Bloodthirster challenge, and one of the guys was vampires, and you used to get 100 points of magic items, 100 points of magic items, and you could stick them on top of a dragon. And we did like the Bloodthirster challenge, and the dragon, the vampire lord, almost always won. The only other one that sort of came close was the dwarfs, because the dwarfs had a similar thing where they could have 100 points of runes, 100 points of something else, and they could truly have some horrendous combos. Yeah, Bloodthirster challenge. Sometimes I wonder if the bloodthirsters end up with the wharf treatment, you know, to show how tough something is, beat up the tough thing. And apparently, to a certain extent, they still, or used to, you know, the new, obviously the new Demons Codex coming out, so who knows, maybe bloodthirsters might absolutely kick you down the road. Of course, this is the new Angron model as well. Another book series, very, very good. Hawk and Fisher. That's always good. You've got like sort of the older veteran and younger lass. And I remember something like the daughters of. I need to look up the name. Daughters of something. Or the ladies of Manhara. Yeah, I don't remember what it was called, but it was one of their most terrifying stories. And there's this creature that could like burrow into you, and they would like eat your brains and stuff like that, and they had to like gouge it out of the guy. Nightmare material. Absolute nightmare material. Right, let's do Skull next. Although I might need a smaller dry brush. Yeah, one thing that I definitely need to cull is my paintbrush collection. Because a lot of these are well and truly past their prime. You know, they're I mean, that's rock solid. Might be able to rejuvenate it, maybe. Oh, that's a good one. That'll do. But every time I think to myself, I'm like, no, this paintbrush can go a little bit further. Oh, have you got some World Eaters? Actually working on magnetizing a bunch of the 30k Primarchs at the moment. I was thinking of doing a video. I wasn't sure if someone had done, you know, how to just magnetize the Primarchs. What colour was I looking for? Bone, that's what I'm looking for. Bone, bone, bone. Would you, Adam and Eve? I don't have a bone colour. Oh well, I guess it's orange, ochre and cream. Sounds like a dessert. Probably not very tasty though. What's this? Off-white. Off-white and ochre it is. What do you think? We've now had, what, one Loyalist Primarch and a whole bunch of Chaos? Are we going to see Fulgrim next as the next Primarch, or are we going to finally get another Loyalist? And if it's a Loyalist, who do you think we're going to get as our Loyalist? Yeah. Oh, you know, it's one of those things is you can spend a lot of money on brushes, but I can never bring myself to do it. I'm like, when you're a better painter, then you can have some nicer brushes. But then I never bother that much about it, so then I just never do. I've just had a look at the time. I think I'm probably going to have to do these skull dudes. And I'll be calling it there. Definitely foaming these ones in. Not as much done on these guys as the other guys. Let's quickly get a bit of basting on them. And they are good enough that I will put it aside. Yes. How appropriate that someone called The End has just put the thumb up at the fact that I've just mentioned that we're getting close to the end. Hello, The End. If you've just joined, hello. If you have been hobbying away in the background, have you managed to get anything done? Hopefully so. We're trying to get stuff done. And also talking about book series that we enjoy and what we'd recommend. If you are working on something, do let us know what it is you're working on. We've got some skeletons getting done. Funnily enough, we've got some skeletons here getting done as well. ATP, did you? I think you might have said what you were doing, but I can't remember. I'm sorry. I think routine, definitely the thing that gets the most stuff done. If you've got a routine, like Steven there, blasting through hordes of skeletons. There they are. Yeah, do you know what? Funny thing you say that. Me too. In fact, if you look at the background of a lot of the shots, you'll see the beautiful case on display. But again, too scared to use them. Waiting for a really good model. I plan on doing a video on, can dry brushing look good? Try my absolute best at doing a Primark, but do it with nothing but dry brushing apart from the face, which I'm going to cheat. I'm going to get a friend that does commission painting to do the faces for me, I think. I'm pretty happy with my paint level and everything apart from faces. Unfortunately, that will make me like the guy from Sekiro. Sekiro? It's like, oh, you cheated. You didn't learn. You didn't progress. You know what? I'm okay with that. Plague Marines. Very good. Oh, the video I'm still doing on, which turned out to be way longer than I thought it would to do, is actually recreating the Tau versus Death Guard front cover of one of the books. It's got typhus, like almost like choke slamming a Tau on the front cover. I didn't have typhus, so I had to make my own by butchering 3 or 4 different models. The idea is it's going to make a little photo frame. But it's one of those ones that sort of what you imagine in your head is so much better than what you can make it turn out to be, which is always frustrating. Right, let's stick some grass tufts on here. 6mm is the way to go. Painting eyes is the right pain though, I can imagine. Do you know what? There's a guy I follow on Instagram, and he's constantly posting tiny Marines, tiny fantasy models, tiny Lord of the Rings models. I'm just so jealous. If I get a 3D printer, absolutely doing stuff like that. Printing off 6mm. Just then he also did dioramas. And yeah, the dioramas always look amazing, like he did one recently of Lara Croft. And it would just take so much to do that in full scale. My friend is absolutely obsessed with 6mm in recreating Waterloo 1-for-1. So he's trying to get like the whole 30,000 models. Yeah, these ones, even for my standards, these are foamed in. We've got the cape done. We've got a little bit of glow. 1 coat of glow, not even multiple coats of glow. I would want to come in with a lighter green. And then we've got the bases done. Well, if they got paint on them, and to be honest, when they're on the tabletop, well, you actually notice. Yeah, I'll probably come back and do the clothes on these ones and do a brighter dry brush of green. But I do like the idea of doing base coat, 1 shaded green, highlight, 1 shaded green, and then final highlight, and then final shade of the green. I do actually think that could work really nicely as OSL. So, if you did manage to get stuff done, do post it on Instagram if you use Instagram and tag me. I would love to see what you've managed to achieve. If you're watching this on demand, same for you. Please do tag me so I can see what it is you've managed to do. I'll put up a picture as well of mine. Probably tomorrow. So we got the troll done. Spent probably too much time on him. Where's to the dogs? They were probably ridiculously easy. We've literally got 2 tones, the eyes and the teeth. You know what? Still love how they look. We've got the thugs. Definitely want to wash on that skin, but after it's dried, it came out a lot darker. But if I use several different colours of wash, you'll actually get several different skin tones. Again, pretty happy with that. And then these guys definitely want to come in with that final dry brush at the bare minimum of green, but that is another day's problem. But yeah, if you get a chance to post up what you've been working on, I'd absolutely love to see it. Stephen, if you can leave in the comments your blog, a link to your blog so people can find it. Thank you, ATP. Thank you, The End. Thank you to everyone that has popped in. But yeah, if you've enjoyed this, join me either next week or the week afterwards. I'll post up a little bit more in advance this time, and make sure you keep battling the backlog. See you later.